So today's topic is going to be on entering donations. Obviously in the donations module. It's a relatively straightforward topic, but there's a lot to it, so we're probably going to go a few minutes over the 20-25 minute mark. So if that's too long for you, guys can head out, and it is being recorded, so you can watch it at a later date. With that being in mind, let's get started. So the first section I want to show you is the settings window where we can basically affect what how the enter donation screen acts. So I'm going to click on special functions here at the top, and then settings, and then there's a couple fields in here that affect how enter donations works. There's the default payment method, standard posting day, weekday for weekly pledges. If um, if everybody in your church typically seems to pay via check or via cash, and you guys do want to record how they paid, the selecting the default payment method as check or cash or what have you basically just saves time. So each person you enter will have that particular payment method already checked. You can change it if somebody pays else with a different thing, but in general, it just kind of saves time, so that way you don't have to choose what method they paid with. Standard posting day, and it's just basically, you select it you choose this to select a default day of the week for donations batches. By choosing a day, you basically enable a message that will warn you if you have a donation that is being posted on a day other than that day. So say you put in a date, like take this week for example, October 1st would have been the previous Sunday, but if say you're entering donations on the 2nd and you accidentally put in the 2nd, when you're entering the donations, when you go to post, it'll bring up a little warning letting you know, hey, this isn't your standard posting day of Sunday. Are you sure you want to continue? And then you can if you want to, but it basically gives you a little warning that you can change it to the correct day. And then I guess the weekday for weekly pledges is actually not really involved on the enter donations. We'll skip that for now. And then let me just close out of that, and then we can go right into the enter donation screen. So you can get that one of two ways. When you first open up donations, you have when you first open up donations, you have the enter donations button here at the bottom of the screen, and then you can access it at the top by clicking on donations and then enter donations right below. It's just two different ways of getting to it. Just kind of depends on what you prefer. So click on that and open it. Okay. And then when you get into enter donations, the first thing you need to do is enter in a donation date. You can't post donations or anything like that without putting in the date first. So you can either click the drop down and select the date from the calendar grid, or you can type it in. So you can type in either way works. And then the next field we have listed is the batch code field. These are typically used if you want to keep track of which worship service gave you which amount of donations and who gave from during that service, that sort of thing. It can also be used to to keep track of online giving or non-cash giving, things like that. It's just another way of grouping items. It's totally optional to if you guys decide to use them or not. If you do decide to use them, you can click the green plus sign button here to add a new batch code, and then you can create your different batches and batch codes that you like with a code and description. If you create them and decide you don't really need them, you can delete them if they haven't had any donations given to it yet. So say we created a Saturday evening service batch, but we decide we don't really need it anymore. You can just click on it so it's highlighted and then remove selected at the bottom, and then ask you if you permanently want to delete it. You say yes, and then OK. So if you guys don't use batch codes or a couple other fields I'll show you here in a minute, you can either just leave it blank, or you can, just to the left of the batch code title, you can see this little switch here. And it's effectively, a light switch. So if you click on it, it essentially turns off that field. So it's no longer, you can no longer click on it or anything like that. It just basically deactivates it and skips over. And then in the row below, we have the giver field, and that's where you type in the person who gave that particular donation. You can either begin by typing the name of the person, or you can type in their giver number or envelope number, or you can click on the down arrow and just scroll through and select the person you want. And once you have the person selected, you can just hit the enter key, and then it will go to the next field. You have a couple options with the giver field, one of which is the inactive and terminated box. So enter donations will remember what you choose, but by default it's turned off. So people who have been marked with a reason for termination or marked with inactive if they were entered in through donations, they won't show up unless you click on inactive and terminated. So say someone passed away, but someone wanted to give a donation on their behalf, something like that. You can click the inactive and terminated, and then the person who is deceased will now show up in the list, whereas they weren't before. The other checkbox here, the sort by giver number, the way that works is essentially if you do a search for somebody's number, it instead of sorting out the list alphabetically, it is going to sort the list numerically. So if I type in the giver number 9, you see everybody with a 9 in the giver number shows up, but it's sorted numerically. So 9 is at the top, 79 is at the bottom. If I uncheck sort by giver number and then do a search for 9, it is just sorted alphabetically, and then the numbers are all scrambled. And then just to the right of the little drop down arrow is this little pledge giving button. You click on that, and then let me bring it over. What will come up is this little window that I find to be pretty helpful. What it does is it shows you all of their giving they've made this year, along with any pledging that they've done that you've entered. So you can see here that this person has pledged to the general fund for a total of $3,000 for the year, $250 a month, but they've given nothing towards it yet, and they've given nothing to any other giving, to any other accounts. And then this also changes, so you can leave this window up, and as you look through other people, it will adjust. So now it's looking at Bella Cuckler instead of Tom Clooney. Also on the enter donation screen, you can click the little green plus sign here to add new people into your database, and then you can enter donations towards them. So if you get new people in on any given Sunday, you can add them via this screen, and then once you get them added, they'll be into your database, and then you can enter donations towards them. So you don't have to go back and forth between membership and donations to add people. You can just add them right there. And then moving to the amount field here on the right, that's just the total amount of their donations. So let me just put 250. And then when I click tab, you can see that account and amount automatically got filled in. The reason for that is because this person I chose, Bella Cuckler, has a pledge, and I have the according to pledge giving distribution checked. What that means is if somebody has a pledge to an account or multiple pledges, the system, when you enter in that in person the amount, will automatically check that and enter in the account and the amount and split it up as necessary. Essentially just meaning that it will do some of the work for you. So it's already entered in the account and the amount information at in the grid below. Now, if I clear this, and there's an option to change the distribution type, so I'm going to click on that, and that brings up this new window. And you can make your own distributions if you want to have everybody give a certain percentage to different accounts. But I'm going to not show you that today. I'm just going to show manual distribution. So if I do, so when I did according to pledge, it automatically put in the 250 towards the general fund. If I do 250 again and hit tab, you can see that it did not put in the account or the amount. So that just basically, manual distribution means you have to put in that amount manually. And then moving on to the payment method field over here on the left, again, just like the batch code field, it has a little checkbox or a little switch here, and so does check a reference number, and so does donation comments. So if you guys don't care about any of that, you can check all of them, and then they'll all be inactive, so they can't be clicked in, and you won't have to worry about those anymore. If you use a payment method of check, it is required to put in something in the checker reference number field. So if you guys don't want to do that, you don't want to use the payment method of check. So you can clear that out, and the payment method is blank. Now you don't have to use check a reference number. I'm just going to leave those unchecked. And then the donation comments field, again, it's up to you if you use it or not, but these essentially these comments apply to the transaction as a whole. So you can put in, maybe more details about who it's from or things like that. Whereas the comments section down here in the actual grid itself would be the specific comment pertinent to that particular giving to that particular account. For example, if somebody donated a chair to the church instead of actual money, you could put in the comments, donated a chair, and then the amount you would put in would be 0. The comments would be donated chair to the church, something like that. There's better examples out there. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Um, but essentially, after you enter in your comments, payment method, check reference numbers, then you go down to the grid to enter in the accounts that people have given to. You know, so I'm going to put in general fund. I'll put in, say, 250. And then if I hit tab a couple more times, it will then go back up to the top where I can choose another account to give to. Say I want to, let me just choose another one, 15. So I have now 2 different accounts that I have given to, 250 to general fund and 50 to organ, for a total of 300. Now that is different from the amount that I put up here at the top. And obviously we need those to match before we can add it to the batch below and continue on to the next person. So if I click the Done Add to Batch button, it's going to give me this little warning that says the total in the grid does not match the amount entered for the transaction. And then it just asks, do you want to correct the amount to match the total? If you say yes, it will automatically do the correction for you, and then now that person will have given $300. If you say no, it'll just basically take you back to the screen where you can make the corrections yourself. So let me just do that, say yes, and then now you can see the total amount is now 300. One of the other options you can do on this grid, so instead of typing in the account like I did before by typing in Oregon, you can also click on the drop down arrow, and then it'll give you a list of all your accounts to choose from. You can add new accounts by clicking the green plus sign, and you can also reorder the accounts to a custom order to make it easier to enter in the donations if you decide to, you feel like using the scroll bar or the up and down arrows. So if you click that little 3-colored button, it'll give you a list of all your accounts, and then you can reorder them as you wish. So I'm going to just say it's Easter, and Easter is upcoming, and doing a fundraiser for it, and a lot more people are giving to the Easter account than before. You can just basically click on that account and click the up arrows on the right to move it up to near the top to make it easier to select from the drop down. So if I click OK, and we look back at the drop down, Easter is now at the top where it was hidden in the, or not hidden, but lower down in the list. And then done, add to batch. Right. Say you have added a particular donation, but you realize you need to make a change, or you forgot to add a comments or something like that. You can select it from, just because you add it to the batch doesn't mean it's permanently in the batch. You can select the particular person, and then if you click edit in the bottom left here, just highlight that real quick. You hit edit in the bottom left, it will basically take that person and their donation back to the top, and then you can make the changes you need to. So I'm going to say change it to save the animals drive, and then done add to batch. So I have changed the account and added it back, and then that person has been added back to the batch, and the amount and everything there is there. You can also delete a particular donation from a batch by making sure it's highlighted, and then just to the right of the edit button is the remove button. If you click on that, it's going to give you a little pop-up asking you basically, do you want to delete donation for this person with that amount? If you click yes, that has now removed that person's donation. And say you are in the middle of a batch, but something comes up and you need to leave for the day. You can always save your batch and come back the next day. So if you need to come back later, if you click Save Batch, bring up a button that says, or a window that says Batch saved successfully. You can then close out, and you can even close out donations or the program in general. And then when you say that you come back the next day, open up donations, go into Enter Donations, and then up here in the top left, or wherever it pops up, will be the unposted batches window with all the different unposted batches you have listed. We only have the one, but you can see it's got the date I had entered with the total, the amount of entries and everything. And then to continue working on that batch, you can click Edit Batch here at the bottom, or you can delete it if you just want to completely remove it, or post or print it. So I'm just going to click Edit to go back in, and you can see the one donation we made so far is still listed here at the bottom. And then say you are done and ready to actually post the batch, you have a couple of options here. A lot of people like to print the batch before we ever post it, just so you can get like a quick rundown, and so you can make sure your totals are right and everything. So you can click Print at the bottom of the screen, and you have a couple different options: Show Detail or Hide Detail. I'll show you each of those. So if you click Show Detail, it brings up the donations batch report, and you can go to the Group and Sort tab and Columns tab and make your changes there. But if you just look at the default and click Print, it's going to bring up the batch report. It's going to say Unposted here at the top, and it's going to give you a breakdown by giver, any checker reference number, the amount, and the account they gave to, and any comments. And you can change what shows up, but if you do Print and Hide Detail and then click Print, it just gives you a name and the amount they gave. It doesn't give you the different columns and everything like that. And it still says, as before, it says Unposted at the top here. And then when you have confirmed everything and you are ready to go, you can then click Post. And then what that does is, it's going to give you, so we still had the standard posting day set up for Sunday. It's going to give you a little pop-up saying this Monday does not fall on the standard posting day. If you want to continue, yes or no. If you say no, it gives you the chance to make a correction to change the date. So I'm going to click the drop down and change it to the 24th. And then when you do that, it just lets you know changing the date will affect all the donations on the date. You just click OK, because that is what you want, because you're changing the date. And then now you are ready to post. The difference between the post and the post and transfer button really is just that post is going to post the donation for you, and then you can go on and continue entering donations on or move on with other areas of the program. Post and transfer, however, after you post the donations, it's going to open up the transfer donations to accounting window, where you can then go and follow through the steps of posting it to accounting. So let me show you that. So I click Post and Transfer. It's going to ask me if I want to print the batch report for it after it's been posted. You can say yes or no to this, but if you don't care about printing those particular reports, if you uncheck this always ask and confirm me about posting donations button. If you uncheck that, any other time you post or post and transfer, you won't get the pop-up asking you if you want to print the report. But if I say yes to it, it'll bring up the same window that we had before, the donations batch report, except the default is it's going to sort by account instead of giver. So if I click print, you'll see the particular batch report. It shows you, so up at the top it says posted, so you know these donations have now been posted into donations. And then it breaks it down by account and how much was given to it and who gave it, the transaction number and all that, and then it totals it at the bottom. So if I close out of that, and then when you're done printing out the batch report, if you close out of that, it takes a second, but then the transfer donations to accounting window is open, and then you can post it over to accounting from here by clicking the post button in the right side of the window right here. And that is really all I have for you guys today. Did you guys have any questions regarding entering donations or anything involved with it? See if we have any questions then. Yeah, we did go a couple minutes over. So sorry about that. If you guys have to go, I totally understand. Like I said, this has been recorded, so it will be put up on our website here within the next couple days. Anne asks, when donations are posted to accounting, is there a way to avoid showing giver? Oh, looks like Kellyanne answered that. But yeah, when you post a donation over to accounting, it does not, it just basically sends everything over in bulk. It does not show you the giver or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that. Sarah asks, if you miss one of these reports, how do you get back to it? So if you don't print out your batch report when you first post the donation or anything, you can, if you close out of this, if you go at the top of the screen, you want to make sure you have donations highlighted here at the top and then posted batches right here. If you click on that, and then it's going to show you all the batches that you have posted this year. You can scroll down or just find the one that we just did, which was the 9/24 date. So you click on it so it's highlighted and click print batch, and it's going to bring up the donations batch report field, and so you can select it there and then print, and then you can set it up to print just like the batch report from the enter donation screen. Hopefully that helps. Any other questions? All right, so Maria asks, I think you're asking about entering donation or entering, I think maybe prepaid pledges. Is that correct, Maria? She's asking about pledges for the next year. Do you do it in the giving distribution? So prepaid pledges are not affected, or they don't, when you do like the pledge giving or the pledging distribution, those aren't that isn't affected by the according to pledge distribution. But if you want to just enter in pledges for next year, you would just go into pledges here, and then you can either go into pledges by giver, type in the account that they're pledging to, the amount per frequency and the frequency, and then the start date you would put next year. So you can do that. Then you can make the start date and end date next year. Or you can set up a new campaign here on this screen. And then so if you click add campaign, we'll just name it something 2018. So the start date and end date. So when you're setting up a new campaign, you want to just make sure you're putting in the right start date and end date for it, choosing the right account. And then once you have everything set up, after you click the green plus sign, the account and the start date and end date, you then click add givers. And then this is where you will add people's pledges to that campaign. So let me just select Nina here. Pledge amount of $56 a month, and then add giver to campaign, and then it adds her to the list below. It calculates how much total she has pledged for next year, the total, basically number of payments she has since she's doing monthly. It's 12. The amount of frequency, start date, end date, and you can go on and start entering other people. That's just a real quick run through. We have a couple documents and videos on our website that go more in depth than that. If you just search for pledges or campaign on our website, they will pop up. Hopefully that helps. Any other questions? Alright, I'm not seeing anything else popping in, so I'm just going to end our session for today. If you guys have any questions, you can always give us a call at 1-800-533-5227, and we will be glad to help you out then. Thanks. Bye.